Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is an interesting time of year. As you may have noticed from the video, October 31st is recognized as the 500-year anniversary of Martin Luther hammering his theses up on the church. His complaint toward the Catholic Church, and the beginning of what we signify as the Reformation, the Protestant Reformation. 500 years. You know, when we study divine principle, we read, there's 400 years. Because already 100 years ago, the Messiah came, right? So that's important. But especially at this time of year, there's a lot of celebrations that have to do with our ancestors and those who are in the spiritual world. In the Korean, we have Chuseok, but also many of the Asian traditions will have a harvest festival recognizing the ancestors, a time to honor and respect them. In the Christian tradition, of course, we have All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day, as you heard there. Also, as you heard in Mexico and Central America, we have the Day of the Dead, honoring the people who have died, gone to the spiritual world. So it's a time where we're leaving summer behind, in autumn, and heading in towards the darkness, right? Like this Sunday tonight, the sun will set probably around 6 o'clock. Next Sunday, the sun's going to set around 5 o'clock. Isn't that scary? Ooh, the darkness is coming. Actually, daylight savings time ends next Sunday, so don't forget to turn your clocks back. But in the wintertime, it gets dark earlier, we have less sunlight. So it's definitely that time of thinking a lot more about death, the end of life, and the spiritual world. But of course, for us, it's important that we educate our young people and our children about things like the spirit world and ghosts. Because Halloween and scary movies and all that kind of stuff, that's fun, right? It's fun and it's entertaining, but it's not the real reality of life. But we like it. It's fun. We like to be scared. It's exciting and it's fun. So as long as we make sure we understand that this is entertainment and fun, and for us to have fun, but we definitely want to encourage our young people never, ever to be afraid of ghosts. All right? Don't ever be afraid of ghosts. Because we know ghosts exist, but they're just people. Right? They're just people like us who have died and gone to the spirit world. And you know what? What does everybody need? Everybody needs love, right? And even ghosts, those in the spiritual world, need love. So this is a good time of year for us to talk about the spiritual world and our relationship with the spiritual world. So in particular, from the divine principle, we talk a lot about returning resurrection. So that's the topic that I want to use today, is the returning resurrection, our relationship with the spirit world, and All Hallows Eve, or Halloween, our Halloween time. Now there's a great funny story from Mark Twain, and it's about he made up this fictitious Captain Stormfield, and when he goes to heaven and what he experiences. And basically, he gets a big surprise when he goes to heaven. Do you know who Mark Twain is? Yeah. Mark Twain? No. Okay. Well, here's a story that he wrote. He said this Captain Stormfield, he dies and goes to heaven. Right? And so who does he meet there? He meets St. Peter. And St. Peter, he looks at St. Peter and he says, "You don't mind me, but I have to remind you, you seem to be forgetting something." And St. Peter looks at him and shakes his head and says, "No, did I forget something? Nothing that I can think of." So then the captain, he's shocked. He says, "What? Think about it." St. Peter thinks for a minute. He looks at him and he says, "No, I can't think of anything that I've forgotten." So during his life, this Captain Stormfield, he sat through more than 1,000 church services, many of which who were devoted to talking about the advantages of heaven over earth. And now he's really shocked. He's dumbfounded. A truly good man has arrived at the pearly gates of heaven, and the gatekeeper doesn't seem to know what in the world heaven is all about. So the captain says to St. Peter, he says, look at me. Look at me. Look at me all over. What do you see? And Peter looks, he says, well, I see you. And Stormfield cries, he says, you don't notice anything? Just think, if I were to go out among all of the elect in heaven, don't you think I would stand out? People would look at me. I would be very conspicuous looking. And Peter, he's scratching his head, going, what's going on now? He says, I don't see anything the matter. What are you lacking? And Stormfield, this time he's losing his mind. He says, lack? He says, look, I don't have a harp. My wreath, I have no wreath. Where's my halo? And my hymn book and my palm branches? I lack everything that a body needs to require to be up here in heaven. Come on. After thinking about this for a little bit, St. Peter says, well, you certainly do seem to be a very curious person. Unusual in the least. And everyone that looks at you is probably going to notice that. But I've never heard about all these things that you're talking about. So, the captain, he looks at St. Peter in astonishment and says, now, I hope you don't take it as an offense. For I don't mean any offense, but really, for a man that has been in the kingdom as long as I reckon you have, you do seem to know powerful little about its customs. So, this is the story of Captain Stormfield. And a lot of people have classic beliefs about what it's going to be like in heaven. The streets are paved with gold, and it'll be, we'll be floating on clouds and playing harps, and this is definitely, the purpose is to convey a vision of beauty, right? It's going to be a wonderful place. It's a good place, a happy place, beautiful, fantastic. And that's the purpose of those kinds of stories. But we definitely know that that's not the literal reality of the spiritual world, right? The spirit world is, especially for us as Unificationists, the spirit world is a world of God's love. That's the most important understanding. So what people, so we need to think and reflect on our own understanding about the spiritual world. So there's a couple of key points. Number one, we know that the spirit world is real. The spirit world is a reality. That this life on earth is just a stepping stone. In fact, Father Moon has a favorite teaching that he gives. He always likes to talk about the three realms of our life, the three different experiences that we have in our life. The first being in the womb. When we're inside of our mother's womb, we're in an environment of water, surrounded by water, nice and warm and protected. And then when we're born, we leave the womb and enter into a world of air, where we breathe and we work and eat and sleep, and we live in this world of air. And then from here we pass to the eternal life, where we breathe the breath of love, the environment of love. So that's those three stages of life. And it's actually a handy way to describe to people when people say, well, what do you believe about heaven and the spiritual world? He says, well, it's like three stages. In the womb, we grow, and then in the physical world we grow, and in the spiritual world we grow. Now, the important thing to think about when we think about growing in the womb, when we're inside the womb, we have to grow and develop our lungs and our digestive system and our legs and muscles and things like that. But we don't use any of those organs when we're in the womb, right? But if they don't develop when we're born into this physical world, we have a hard time, right? So the lungs, inside the womb, the baby doesn't breathe, doesn't need to use the lungs to breathe. But when the baby's born, it needs to be able to breathe the air of this world. So similarly, if that child doesn't develop those lungs and is born into this world, the child is going to suffer. Well, if we understand that the spiritual world is the realm of God's love, then if in our life we don't learn how to love, grow our love lungs, it's a good expression, when we enter into that spirit world, it'll be a place of suffering. We'll suffer. Because our experience in that spirit world, that eternal life, heaven or hell, is based on our ability to love, to experience love. God, again emphasizing, God as a loving parent would never create a place, oh, bad children, I'm going to throw you and burn you up forever. What kind of loving parent would do that? But God's created this beautiful realm of love for us to grow into and to be able to breathe and experience this beautiful, wonderful environment. But if we haven't in our physical life spiritually grown our ability to love, then we enter into that world, it's a place of suffering. To the degree that we've learned how to love. You know, those that really did not love and were evil in their life, when they enter that realm, it's a painful place to be. But if a person who's lived a life of love, they go into that realm, it's like, oh, wow. And they can breathe God and experience God's love. So the other point that's really important is that in the womb, we had to develop those lungs. In our physical life, with a physical body, we have to develop our heart, our love lungs. And it requires the physical body. Here's how the divine principle explains it. This is from the chapter on resurrection, and particularly the section we call it returning resurrection. According to the principle of creation, this is God's design, ideal for the world, man's spirit was created to grow only through give and take action between life elements from God, God's truth and God's love, and vitality elements from man's physical body. That's the stuff we do with our life. Therefore, the spirit man can neither grow nor be resurrected apart from our physical body. So this is a very important understanding. We need our physical body in order to grow our love lungs, in order to grow our spirit. So our physical life is very precious and very important. Here's one of our favorite divine principle diagrams, right? You have the physical body and the spirit body. The physical body needs air and sunlight to nourish so the body grows. But also we need food and water, which air and sunlight is free. You just have to breathe, right? And get it. But food and water we have to make effort for. It's something that we get. We do. On our spirit self, our spirit grows. God's love and truth is freely available if we just open our eyes to it and receive it. You know, God's love is there. But we do need to make actions with our physical body. So what the divine principle calls our vitality elements, it's how we nourish our spirit is through the actions that we do with our life. What we do with our life. That's how we grow. That's how we grow ourselves. So the question comes, especially at this Halloween and All Saints Day, All Hallows Eve, what about the people who have died? They don't have a body anymore. How can they grow? So this is again what the divine principle says. It says, so in order that the spirit men who've passed away to the other world without having perfected themselves in the physical life on earth might be resurrected, they must come again to earth and fulfill the responsibility they left unaccomplished in their physical life on earth through the physical bodies of earthly men and women, through all of us. So as we grow, that's how they grow. So understanding that this is how the people who died and have gone to the spirit world can grow. And we know that we're surrounded all the time by spirits in the spiritual world. They're always influencing us. So what do you think the activities of those people in the spiritual world are? They're always looking for someone that can help them grow. Some of them are really desperate. Help me. Help me. I'm in hell. How can I get out of here? I have to find someone who will help me grow. Help me be liberated from where I am. Help me grow my heart so that I can experience God's love. Now, it's interesting that there's so many movies and TV shows and things nowadays. I can think there's old ones way back when. We had Ghost and What Dreams May Come and Poltergeist and Ghost Whisperer, all these ones that talk about people in the spiritual world who are incomplete. Something is not finished in their life. And they come back and they interact with the people who are on earth, trying somehow to get liberated, to resolve their resentment or their pain of the past. And there's along Jewish and Christian and actually around the world's religions stories about interaction with the spiritual world and the importance of the role that we play as the people who are on earth to help liberate and heal those people who are in the spiritual world. So, if we think about our relationship with the spiritual world, number one is we know the principle of give and take action. Whatever we interact with increases energy, increases power. So the spirit world needs to have interaction, connection, and relationship with us in order to grow. So there's also this law of attraction. You may have heard it if you've read the book The Secret, or whatever energy we put out, we also attract. So if you're thinking, oh, I can't do it, well, you're probably right. Because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But if you're thinking, oh, I can do it, and if you don't succeed, well, you don't give up because, oh, I haven't finished yet, because I can do it. This time I didn't make it, next time I will. I just keep going. I don't give up. The law of attraction is whatever kind of spirit or environment we're generating around us, those are the kinds of spirits that are coming to us. So if we're thinking lots of negative and angry thoughts, what kind of spirits are we attracting? Angry, resentful spirits, right? That's what we attract. And this is very practical in terms of success motivation and all these gurus that are teaching that. They're talking about it. If you have the right attitude in your thinking, then you'll do well. We know that it means that we're also attracting and involving the positive spiritual world instead of the negative. So what I want to talk about is that we live not just for our own spiritual growth. Of course, that's our first mission, is to grow ourselves spiritually, to be people of love who can love others. But we have this profound connection with the people who are in the spiritual world, the invisible spiritual world that's always around us. People who are desperate to be able to grow and to be healed and liberated from their pain, their resentment, and their problems. So they're going to come to people they have something in common with. So in the spiritual world, who are the people that you think have the most in common with you, with each one of us? It's our ancestors, right? Our family. The people in the spiritual world, they have an automatic connection to us. And they're going to come to us desperate to be able to grow and to be healed. Now also, the divine principle talks about people who have a similar mission. They will also come to you. People who have a similar calling in their life. Maybe they weren't able to succeed. The Bible talks a lot about John the Baptist, right? That the power and spirit of Elijah came to him. He wasn't Elijah, but Elijah was there helping him because John the Baptist had the same mission as Elijah. So similar with us in our lives, in the different areas that we live. There's spirits who all want to connect to us because they have something in common with us. They could be our ancestors. They could be people who have a similar mission. They also could be people who have a similar problem. And as we overcome temptations or problems or difficulties in our life, we're not just doing it for ourselves, but we're liberating any spirits who's there connecting with us. So this expands our perspective and our thinking about our lives. Our lives are not just for ourselves. We live for the sake of something larger, always. But if you think about it, even when I'm home alone and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh man, no one's going to ever notice what I do. It's, it's secret, it's, doesn't matter, I don't, and I give up. it doesn't matter if I do good or not here. I give up. This is Satan's favorite lie. To say, it doesn't matter. To say, you don't matter. This is Satan's favorite lie. Because each one of us matters incredibly and is loved deeply by God. But also, all those spirits around you, they're desperate for our help. They're desperate for our help. So, don't accept that kind of lie. Even when we're private, even if nobody knows what's going on, the spirit world is all there and knows what we're doing. The spirit says, oh, don't do that. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. The spirit world is there looking for some opportunity to work with us. So that's where the last point I want to make here is about making conditions. In our life, especially in the Unificationist tradition, we have the practice of making conditions, spiritual conditions. Conditions, you can say, creating the environment, creating the circumstances, creating the situation for something good to happen. So if we want to have a healthy life, conditions, we eat a good diet, we exercise, we do things, we make conditions so that our body is healthy. In order to have a healthy spiritual life, we make conditions to grow our hearts, to grow our lives. This is why over and over we hear, let's make a condition. Right now we're in the middle of a 40-day condition. Making this offering and prayer 40 days for the success of providential activities that are happening around the world. We're cultivating and nurturing living for the sake of something higher, living for a higher purpose. Now even, the challenge that we have of, Father Moon, Mother Moon, they're always asking me to do this, do that, go out, serve your neighbor. You're the tribal Messiah. I don't want to be Messiah to anyone. I don't matter. It's just me. Someone else will do it. All those are lies that Satan tells us. We are the ones that God is counting on. We're the people who are called to be tribal messiahs. So even, we hear it over and oh no, not another talk about home church and tribal messiahs. But we know that's what we're called to do. And so making conditions is the powerful tool we have to bring about change. So often we look at, we have to do this great big thing. It's too much. I give up. I surrender. But the purpose of making conditions is that we can say, okay, I can't do that, but I can do this. So I make a promise. So if we want to make a difference in our tribe, the people that we love, we care in our life, let's make conditions for them. Okay, for 7 days, I'm going to pray for 7 people in my family. I'm going to spend 7 minutes. Spend an hour. Spend however long you want. But making conditions, making promises, mobilizes the spiritual world. It creates a situation, an environment that God can work in. So even small conditions are the stepping stones that we make to bring about change in the world, particularly first the spiritual world, but also in our own lives. When we're making conditions for things, when we're praying about things, then when opportunities appear, we're much more likely to recognize them and to take hold of those opportunities. So making conditions, it's not just, I'm going to do a fast or I'm going to pray. Those are the easy ones. Even more powerful conditions are, okay, God, I'm going to take this action. I'm going to do something. I'm going to say hi to my neighbor. I'm going to greet the people around me. I'm just going to be friendly. I'm not going to, hit them over the head with a divine principle and say, learn this or die, No, I'm going to love them, right? But we're making a condition. Okay, I'm determined. At least, this day, at least one person I'm going to greet and smile and ask how their day is. Each one of us has different stepping stones. But making conditions helps us move forward in our life. It mobilizes the spiritual world and helps us to be instruments to liberate those people in the spiritual world. So during this season of Chuseok ancestors and All Saints Day and All Souls Day and all these activities where we're remembering, a time to remember those who are in the spiritual world. Let's be sensitive and be people who are conscientious, that realize our lives make a difference much larger than ourselves, and that we can make a difference for the people who have already gone to the spiritual world. In fact, they're counting on us. They're hoping that we will be the ones that can liberate them. So let me close with this from Father Moon. Your physical look may be ugly, but spirit world sees you as princes and princesses. Right? When you fight and win every battle, spiritual world will rejoice. Then you will scare away evil spirits. Your ancestors will serve you as king. We should prepare our foundation with the heart that refuses to defile heavenly tradition and dignity. You should pray as to what kind of conditions you will establish. Now is a blessed time. So let's live lives that make a difference for the people in our lives, for our own life, and for those in the spiritual world. Please join me in prayer. Good morning, Father, Mother God, our loving Heavenly Parent. Thank you so much for the ways that you're working in our lives and the opportunities that you give us to grow. We're so grateful for the many blessings that we have, for the understanding that we have through the divine principle, our relationship with true parents and Jesus. And Heavenly Parent, the way that you continue to work in this world and this providence, that we can be part of that providence. At the same time, Heavenly Parent, we come before you with a repentful heart, because we know many times we've accepted Satan's lies and falsehoods telling us that we didn't make it, that we don't matter, that we don't make a difference. Heavenly Parent, we're so sorry. We repent and we determine not to listen to that, but to know that you're counting on us, to know that you've invested so much in us, and that through us you hope to do great things and to bring great healing to the world and blessing to the people's lives that we touch. Heavenly Parent, please continue to guide us as we interact with the people in our tribe, our community, our friends and family, and the people at work, the people at school, the people that we have any opportunity to interact with. Heavenly Parent, we know your love is the most important thing, and we want so much for all of the people, all of your children around the world to know and experience your love and your truth. So, Heavenly Parent, as your sons and daughters, grateful, and as blessed central families, we offer up ourselves again to you. We're praying this together. Adieu. Okay, so what I want to do is take a minute now and turn to your neighbor, but talk about what kind of conditions do you make for the sake of those in the spiritual world.